10 minutes of daily reality coming at you today. It is Friday. It is February. It's almost your birthday, Greg.
It is. 52. Coming right around the corner.
I know. Man, what is it, the 11th?
No, it's the 18th.
18th.
Come on.
All right. So, you know.
You've only known me 20 years. You don't know my birthday? Even I know your birthday.
When's my birthday?
July 1st.
Damn, man, you're right. It is July 1st.
Pretty easy. Yours is pretty easy to remember, though, you know?
I know. Mine is a pretty easy thing. Yours is easy, too, because for some reason or another, I have you as – I knew you're the 18th, but I always seem to do the 11th. So I got to tell you, I got to go to my favorite place today, DMV. DMV, I got to tell you, you know, we make fun of DMV workers as being slow, but I got a lot of credit to DMV workers. They're not slow. It's just the people that come in there are borderline slow. Because I'm gonna tell you why. I'm gonna tell you why really fast, right? So I'm in DMV today, and you had to be in contact with 3 different people: the manager, the woman who was mainly serving me, and then the guy that had to go and literally process you through to the right line, right?
Uh-huh.
Nobody fills in the forms correctly at DMV. Nobody. So they're dealing with people all day long that don't know how to fill in forms. And he had us look at this one guy and go, "You put your name there where it says name." You put your address there, it puts address. And everybody always says DMV workers are really, you know, God, you must be stupid to work in DMV. I got a whole new respect because they actually were damn organized. They got all this paperwork. They knew exactly how to shuffle things through. They knew exactly how to problem solve. They're dealing with people. And when you're dealing with the public, it's the public that's painfully stupid. Not the people working with the public. It's the public, because I was witnessing somebody else not knowing how to fill something out. Somebody else has left their car in the middle of like the lot because he got annoyed. Another person did not want to fill in the paperwork, right? Because he had the wrong address, and they asked him why he didn't change his address at any time in particular, right? I mean, it's nuts. I think it's not the DMV workers. It's the people that go there. The human public is not smart.
They're not patient. Nobody's patient. No, but you go to the DMV, you're always expecting to be annoyed. Like, when you ever walk into the DMV and say, "This is going to be a wonderful experience"? I can't wait. I mean, you and I make it a point to chat everybody up and have a little fun. And when I go to the DMV, I always expect it to be a fiasco of at least an hour. So I prepare myself. Most people are in a hurry. They're on lunch break. You know, they're running around. It's the last possible day to get their plates. So they're stressed out. So no wonder.
I know. I had 90 minutes there, and I got to tell you, it was fairly pleasurable yet annoying at the same time, right? Sure. Because it does take a long time because there's a lot of red tape. But it was really interesting to see the people that are in there and look at. And I even said, you know, and that's what I always tell people all the time: when you're with somebody, when you're in a place like the DMV or the post office or a bank, and you're dealing and you have to interact with somebody who's dealing with the public, the best thing to do is to bond with them and literally say, like, "Can you believe the people in here?"
I know, right?
You know, it's like, can you believe that person ahead? You know, because they'll bend over backwards. They made a mistake in one of the registration, and they wanted to have a fee attached to it. You know, and state of California, the registration in Colorado, registration on cars are already too expensive to begin with, right?
Yeah. So
then when they start adding the fuck you fee on top of it, it's like in the 600s, right? You know, and you're thinking to yourself, like, wait a second.
Is that what your plates cost today?
My plates are like they're 4 and change.
That's about Colorado's pricing, same thing.
Yeah, it's Colorado's pricing, but it's interesting because the more you relate to them, the more they'll do for you. And I think that's the biggest thing with people. Everybody is looking for a shortcut nowadays. Nobody wants to go and do the basic steps. And if you look at anybody who's ever been successful, we're going to bring him up one last time, probably one more time next week after they crown him for his 6th Super Bowl championship, is that you're watching that Facebook thing on Tom Brady, right?
Tom versus time.
Okay. So when he was gangly and getting injured and slow, he did everything he could to work on his footwork. He did everything he could to make himself even better. And I think there's something that a lot of people are not doing nowadays is they're not doing the things to make themselves better. They're not maximizing their time. They're coming up with blanket statements. Like I was coaching somebody the other day, and there's a blanket statement that he said to me was, I just really want to get rich this year doing something, and I don't know what it is right now, but if I work with you, I want you to help me get rich. And I'm thinking, like, the fuck am I, God or a magician?
Exactly. If you could just materialize money, why would you be materializing it for other people? You just be done working.
Right. And if I could read minds, I mean, because how many times have you coached people and they ask you all the time, hey, Greg, what do you think they were thinking at that moment? You know, and I think they were really thinking, and I think they thought that I was coming onto them strong. And they thought that, you know, and I really thought that they didn't want to be talked to right now. And I always look at people in that comment and I always say, well, since you're a fucking mind reader, why the fuck are we talking right now? If you can actually read minds, you can tell me what Apple's going to do tomorrow morning, and I can put some money in the right place, short or long. You can tell me who's going to the Super Bowl, and I can literally go and put a bet on that. And then I don't have to talk to another human being ever again because I'll be rich, living on a tropical island, being away from every human being possible.
Right. And I guess what we're getting at is getting back to our friend Tom Brady. Oh, my friend. I don't know if he's your friend, but still, he hired. You know, speaking of coaching, he hired that trainer. The trainer is the reason why he's not getting injured. The trainer is the reason why he's faster, quicker on his feet, because he's putting in other work, obviously, but the trainer really worked on pliability, which is not anything that I was even thinking of. You know, when we talked about it before, we thought about working out, like going to the gym, working on footwork, but he worked on his pliability so that his muscles would extend to the fullest point and not tear in order to create injury. So it's not just flexibility; it's a different thing. They showed, in those videos, they showed him stretching him out and really working deep tissue work to get himself to be as pliable as possible. So when he gets smashed, he doesn't get hurt.
Okay, so here's what's interesting. Okay, do you think people's brains are as tight as some people's hamstrings? Do you think people don't have the pliability that they should really have? Because that's an interesting analogy here. If you look at some people that we've worked with, we've coached, we've talked with, they have no pliability of their brain at all. It's almost like you tell them a concept and they don't want to step outside the boundaries that they've set in their life, and they don't want to allow the new possibility in. So the brain is just another muscle. Isn't the brain just another muscle that we need to stretch every single day?
Well, you're talking about self-limiting beliefs, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's drilled in their head. And then when you and I say to them, hey, why don't you try this approach? Why don't you try being more direct? Why don't you try being more vulnerable? What do they immediately say? Oh, I could never do that. Or that's just not going to work, because they have these self-limiting beliefs that have been drilled into their heads for years, since their childhood, and they're not willing to accept the advice of others, try different things from a different angle. That's probably the most frustrating thing I've had coaching your clients.
Yeah, I like how you're blaming they're my clients now, you know, and they're not yours. I love that.
Our clients. Every once in a while, right, you get that one guy that listens to everything you tell him to do, and they have massive success. And then you tell everybody else about it, right? And they're like, oh, really?
I've got a lot of massive success because I'm a brain surgeon. You know, I'm a story buster. But there's some people that one guy that we talk about is far easier than the rest of them. You know, there's a lot of repeating. And that's something that I always tell people all the time when I'm coaching them. I said, I might repeat myself 14 different times. The reason why is because you're not listening the other 13 times and your brain is not pliable enough, right? Meaning that repetition breeds success. Whenever you want to be successful in anything, it's all repetition. You know, you want to learn something, you read. If you don't understand it, you read something else about it. If you still don't understand it, you read something else about it. Dogs are taught by repetition. You know, everything in life, I heard the dog in the background, right? But everything else is done with repetition. Life is just repetitive. And that's what I think the biggest thing that people don't understand is that everybody wants the end result. But if you believe the end result will already be there, which it already will be, because the end result is always going to be there no matter what, because there's no such thing as an end result, because life is a never-ending journey. So the end result is the biggest bullshit in the world. People are always working towards goals, towards an outcome. But once you get to the outcome, there's always a new outcome that needs to be worked on anyway. So one of the things is that I think a lot of people have big issues with is really remaining present and really remaining open when it comes down to the journey that they're on. Don't expect the results immediately. Do the things that are going to start to build the foundation of the results. And that's the reason why Tom Brady is in his 8th Super Bowl. Bill Belichick is in his 8th, well, more than 8 Super Bowls. Belichick was Parcells defensive coordinator for a few of those Super Bowls. So this is his 10th Super Bowl he's participated in. This is not a fluke. People look at the Patriots' success and they get angry with it. And I look at it and go, well, let me duplicate it in my own life. I would love to have, a 17-year run like the Patriots. I mean, who wouldn't? So what's duplicatable is the day-to-day habits that we're forming. And I think that's where people have gotten lazy. They're not into the day-to-day habits like they should be.
Yeah, they don't want to pay attention to the small details, do the work, prepare, like you said, read, learn, adjust, try different things. But consistency, I think, is probably the biggest problem. I think a lot of people don't have the patience when they try something new and it doesn't give them a result right away, that they get discouraged and they bail. Whereas it takes a long, long time to make changes. And you have to be patient in order to do that. You have to put in the work.
Yeah, people are just afraid to put in the work, and they make it work. It should be joy to be able to truly be evolved like that, to truly just, open up in that way. I mean, that's where the joy comes in. It's joyous to be on that journey. The journey is the best part of the whole thing. I mean, nobody really wants the journey anymore. Everybody wants the payoff. It's like,
they want the destination. That's right. We talked about that last time.
Yeah, the destination, is, I think what makes the destination so amazing is the journey.
Oh, that's true.
Because it's the day-to-day commitment to self. When you're committing to self every single day, and I use the term self because, yourself or ourselves or whatever it might be, but it's that day-to-day journey, and that day-to-day commitment is where all the excitement happens. When you start recognizing the day-to-day wins, when you start recognizing the day-to-day moments, when you start recognizing the day-to-day setbacks and you realize they're just a mild setback in your life, that's when I think the journey starts to get exciting. It's like people just, almost like you want to go to the gym. Remember when you first started lifting weights? How old were you when you first started lifting weights?
I was like 13.
Okay. So were you skinny? Were you that guy? Were you the guy in the back of the comic books? Remember the comic books? You remember that, right?
I mean, I don't know. Yeah, I remember specifically not being able to do a push-up. Not one.
Not one?
Not one. I was like 7th or 8th grade. I had no strength at all. And then I just started, my parents got me this weight set and I started lifting. And I just started going on, went on and on and on. But no, I was always tall. I was like, I was 5'10" in 8th grade. So I was a tall, gangly, goofy looking, bowl haircut, straight A student. That all changed in high school. I never missed a day of middle school. Not one. Perfect attendance.
So funny because I had my senior year, I had like 45 full day absences. I used to just go into school and my girlfriend write a note. Please excuse David from school today for he's going to a doctor's meeting. Please excuse David from school today, his grandfather. My grandfather must have passed away 45 fucking times my senior year. Now, my mom had a rule, okay, and the rule was that if you're going to make an excuse that somebody died, they have to already be dead. Otherwise, you were basically, putting a spell on them, right? So my grandfather died when I was 11. I think my grandfather probably died close to 1,000 more times in my lifetime. He just, that man kept dying and kept getting buried and everything. So it's funny, when I first got dedicated to working out, I was 19 years old. I saw the movie Flashdance, true story, right? There was a weight set in my room in the basement of college. I lived in this house with 5 other guys in the basement, right? And I remember I got back from Flashdance and I thought to myself, fucking Jennifer Beals, man, she is so hot. I just want to fucking be her maniac in bed, right? And I remember that song, Michael Sembello, Maniac. And I remember literally going back that night, taking my shirt off and looking at my, 19-year-old pimple on my chest, gangly body, skinny as can be. And I fucking put 2 sad weights on both sides, right? And I started lifting weights, pumping it up, playing music, out of my boom box. I had a boom box at the time, right? And I'm fucking curling and I'm lifting and I'm curling. And I literally couldn't move the next day. I remember my arms were like in a locked position because, I overworked the muscles that were never really truly worked. I mean, I was an athlete as a kid, but I was never a weightlifter, right? So I played sports, but never lifted weights, and I never stopped. I never stopped. I mean, in my life, I have never stopped working out. Neither of you, we both hurt different parts of our body, and maybe we're on the disabled list for 2 weeks at the most, right? I think the most I've known you or I taking off is maybe a 2-week stretch where we get grumpy for 2 fucking weeks, right? Because we can't work out. And then we're back into it again. And it's a day-to-day commitment to really being the best that we can be, you know, and there is no end result. I remember when I was younger, I always said I want to be Jack LaLanne when I was older, right? But I just never set a goal. I always set an intent, because what if I'm better than that? What if I'm stronger than that? What if, you know, what if when I finally get to the outcome, there's a new outcome, there's new technology, there's new things that make me even better than, you know, Jack LaLanne. Maybe I'll be the $6 million man. Who knows? So
right.
I think that's what I really like about Tom Brady, is that he just keeps going and going and going. And there's never any doubt in his mind about who he is, you know, and what he's about. And a lot of people, you know, remember I sent you that email about the guy who, you know, the guy who hated him. You know, it's like
on your thread, yeah.
Right. You know, it's like, oh, David, you teach men how to be men and blah, blah, blah. And look at Tom Brady. He's a cheater. And look at Tom Brady. He got a girl pregnant and left her. And I'm thinking, like, you and I talked about this, Greg. It's like, yeah, he got a girl pregnant. So instead of having a shitty fucking relationship, staying with a woman for the rest of his life that he didn't want to be with, so the kid can see two dysfunctional people can't stand each other for 30 years and then have to go get coaching later on, or go get lots of therapy because their parents hated them. He stepped up as a man, literally left, met somebody else, and pays for the fucking kid. I mean, how much more of a man can you possibly be?
Well, they got pregnant. They, you know,
Yes.
everybody's like, well, he got her pregnant. Well, you know, they both were together, so who knows? Maybe the woman tried to trap him. Who knows? But yeah, I agree with you. Do you know that his sister is his manager, his business manager?
No.
Yeah, when he started to finally started making some money, and you know, he's very, very tight with his family. He's got a small group of people that help him and advise him. But I completely agree with you. Why would you even want to be in a relationship with somebody that didn't want to be there? Well, what's the point of that? You know, I don't understand. People make mistakes every day. We all know that. But at the end of the day, everybody should try to be happy. And there's no reason one person should sacrifice their happiness for someone else's, because that's just never going to be right. Never going to work.
No, but there's this story that people have, you know, it's like the story of the man got the woman pregnant. I love, you're right. They got pregnant, not he. He didn't have some magic penis that fucking had sperm. She received the sperm. She fucking knew the sperm was coming in her. You know, who knows if she didn't trap him? Who the fuck cares? We're not part of their life. We were not there. We look at it as an outsider and we think to ourselves, well, you know, people think, well, I'm just going to make a judgment on him. How about the cheating? You know, and the football that was Deflategate, right? He still had to throw the goddamn football, just like all the people, just right, Greg, just like all the people, just like Roger Clemens still had to throw a fastball, whether he was on steroids or not. He was on steroids. He still had to throw a fastball to all the hitters who were on steroids. So the fact is, who's cheating and who are us to judge? It's a competitive edge, and that's where I think that we become so judgmental of other people and not really seeing, you know, that it takes a lot of guts to leave a marriage or to leave a relationship with a kid and realize, hey, look, I'm going to have a kid I'm going to be responsible for. I'm going to be, you know, I'm going to be a dad, but I don't want to be with this woman. I mean, why do we have to be tied to somebody we don't want to be tied with? And why do we have to be such a martyr lifestyle for the person who wrote that in there? Go ahead, fucking live your life, okay? And constantly fucking live your life compromising and tell me if you're going to be happy the day you die.
What's the difference between cheating that way? I guess maybe there's a difference, but if you think about the fact that not everybody, shouldn't use those kind of terms.
No.
Most people doctor up their pictures, you know, on social media. And is that wrong? If you're trying to mislead somebody to think you're more attractive, then you're not.
Ooh.
And is that even an analogy that applies to Tom Brady? I don't know. And the only reason I bring this up is because I had this Airbnb person staying at our place, and her picture was like, you know, she looked really attractive, and then she showed up and she looked nothing like that, and she turned out to be a complete slob who destroyed my place, you know, and I had to get her kicked out. And it was just like thinking to myself, you know, I based my opinion partially on her picture. figuring like, she looks like a nice person. She's attractive. She'll be good. She was a nightmare.
Yeah, it's so funny. I think we'll leave it at that. I think it's like something we're going to talk about. We're going to come back on the podcast after. We'll come back. We'll talk about the Super Bowl next week. And next week, Greg, you and I are going to talk about, are people like Deflategate on their online profiles?
Sounds good.
Because I really think that that's a big thing. I think that's a huge thing here, because yet everybody likes to talk about Tom Brady line, but what about the guy who's really 47 years old, but in internet years, he's only 37 and he's 35 pounds lighter? What's a bigger cheat? Somebody who deflates a football or somebody who lies to a prospective date and tries to talk their way out of it? We'll talk about that next week on The Reality Check. We'll bring Greg back. For the rest of you, tune back in tomorrow's Saturday and hear my thoughts on whatever my thoughts are going to be. I don't know what they're going to be yet, because tomorrow's a whole new day, and I'm not going to tell you what I'm going to be feeling tomorrow, because I won't know until I actually wake up. Dun, 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 dun.
Big suspense.
Big suspense. All right, 10 minutes out. See you tomorrow.